Okay, welcome back to another vid, the Friday Brew, on a Saturday, or any day, I guess, depending on when you're watching this. So, yes, a little bit late to the party with these brews, but as I always say, you know, that's the problem with calling it the Friday Brew. Sometimes you're going to be busy and you just haven't got time to do it. So it becomes the Saturday Brew, or any other brew for that matter. So yeah, I've got a few topics I want to talk about. This might be a shorter vid than per usual. And then there are some questions from only 2 people, you lazy swines. Lazy. No, I'm only joking. I really am joking because, you know, to be honest, I don't ask many questions on other people's vids when they do these question answering things. So how can I expect everyone else to do it when I don't? Plus, sometimes you've just got nothing to say. You watch the vid, you move on to the next one. And also, I guess people maybe watch on small devices, phones or big devices like a television, but you're not going to type out a bloody comment or a question on a remote control. Can't be bothered with that. So I totally get it. I'm just surprised the questions lasted this long. With that said, if you have any questions for the next brew, put them in the description box below and I'll answer them. As long as I've not talked about it before, because, you know, I don't want to do repetition. So, but I do have a contingency plan for the questions, and I did touch upon that a few vlogs back. And it's where what I may do is look at the comments that are left and maybe pick 1 or 2 out if there's some interesting points made. So I may do that instead of the questions. But if you have any questions, please place them below. Anyway, so yeah, just a few topics, not too many, so it might be a short vid-ish. Short for me anyway. The first one I want to talk about is, yeah, music. I've got my little notes, only because I've got a rubbish memory, it's not a script, and I'd never be able to remember all this. And how can I memorise the questions as well from people as well? Not that good. So yeah, music videos. Now I conducted, behind your back, a music experiment on you personally. And I'm sorry, I hold my hands up, I did it and I didn't tell you about it. No, joking aside, you may know if you watch my last vid, my last brew, I should say, I talked about the fact that about 5 years ago I created a secondary YouTube channel. And it was a music channel. But it was only this January where I started to upload. Now, even at the time of doing this vid, and we're very nearly in June, I only have, I think there's maybe 5 or 6 videos that I've uploaded in the best part of 6 months. So clearly it's not enough. It's not enough to garner attention, to get subscribers, to get people watching and interaction, all that kind of stuff. And as a result, it struggled big time, or is struggling big time. You know, I think there's like 35 subscribers. Like I say, there's only maybe 5 or 6 vids. And don't get me wrong, some people from like the music community have subscribed, and some of them I've got to know a little bit, and they're, you know, quite nice. There's no problems with them. They seem very friendly, but it highlighted, as I touched upon in the last vid, that starting a channel in this day and age is really, really difficult, really hard. I mean, I've always known that, but especially with, you know, modern YouTube algorithms and them, understandably, I guess, wanting to promote the big channels to make them money. I get why they do it, but it's a real slap in the face for people like myself and people like you and other people who want to start a channel, because the chances of us ever having a large amount of subscribers, it's minimal, quite frankly. It's not impossible, but it's really difficult. So if you're starting a new channel today, then unless you've got a lot of luck behind you, unless you get a lot of shout outs, which doesn't really happen these days, and the community kind of interaction, then it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but it's not impossible. So if you want to start a new channel and you've been itching at doing it for years, do it. Absolutely, whatever you do, don't not do it. Because it's one thing, you know, trying and not getting there, and another not bothering at all. Just at least try. If you can turn around, not just with the YouTube channel, but in life, if you can turn around and go, you know, in the future, at least I tried, then you're probably not going to have any regrets, or not many regrets. You will have regrets in the future if something you really want to do is something you didn't do because you couldn't be bothered. So at least give it a go. But with that said, like I say, I started this channel about 5 years ago, but didn't technically really start it until January. And it's been difficult to get attention. I've tried all the tricks in the books. I've used tags on my videos. It's just clearly not working. I've tried to interact with people. Most people are very friendly and they respond. 1 or 2 people kind of cherry pick, because I'm like a new person on the scene and they're probably thinking, well, I don't know who this person is. So I'll leave comments and I'll reply to all the other ones, but him I'll probably not. It's a little bit harsh when people do that. I kind of understand it to a degree. But again, it just highlights how difficult it is to start a new channel. So the point, ultimately, I'll get there, is I uploaded, like I said, I've done about 5 or 6 vids on this channel. The last music vid I uploaded on this other channel, which I will mention one day. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want sympathy subs. I don't want people just go in there just for the sake of it. What's the point of that? It's for music. And also, you'll notice that I've started to put the music videos back on this channel after a few months away. I think it's 5 months of not doing one. Anyway, I will get to the point now. So about a month and a bit ago, I uploaded my latest music video to my music channel. And speaking now, almost in June, that video currently has, I think, if we want to be specific, I think it's got 48 views. 48 views in a month of being live. Now, okay, it's a small channel. I don't have many subscribers, so there's not a lot of traffic. But I have, like I say, tried using tags. I've done everything in the book. 48 views after a month. Now, you may have noticed the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, I uploaded that very same vid. I mean, you might not know this, but that very same vid to this channel. And already, after 72 hours of it being live, there or thereabouts, it's got 120-something views. So remember, the other one's got like 48. So 48 views after a month. The same video on this channel, 120-something views. 2 likes on the other channel, 9 so far on this one. And there's more interaction on this channel. Work that one out. You know, I'm specifically going for a music audience, a music channel, and people just aren't really interested. Yet I put it on this channel, and people are interested. Now, I shouldn't really be surprised for a couple of reasons. One, because admittedly, and maybe this is the key, I've got far more subscribers on this channel. The other one I've got 35, this one I've got like 1,500. So straight away you've got a bigger audience, and that's key, I think. You've got to bear that in mind. That plays a big, big part. But also, I just think, in hindsight, I guess a lot of people who like music, even if you're just casual about it, a lot of people who like music are also into gaming. They're also into football. And that's 2 things that I do on this channel. So really, music videos probably are for a lot of people. We all like music. Some of you watching may be like, well, I don't really buy it, I'm not really into it. And yes, you may not be into it, but you'll still like it. We all have bands and artists and songs that we like. Obviously, some just like the topic of music more than others. But ultimately, we do all like music. So, yeah, in hindsight, creating that channel it wasn't a mistake. I'm glad I did it. And here's the thing, I am going to persevere with it because Rome wasn't built in a day. But you may be thinking, well, why did you create this secondary channel, Alex? Why did you do that? Why did you cheat behind my back? I don't really look at it as cheating, to be fair. The reason I did it is because I felt, and I have touched upon this before, I felt that because they're just music vids, it's a music channel, I'm not putting other things on there, I wanted people who really like music to watch, which sounds arrogant, but obviously we all make videos because we want people to watch them, but I wanted and want people who really like music to watch my music vids and then maybe subscribe and get to know them and interact and, you know, follow their channels and all that kind of stuff. But what I felt, rightly or wrongly, and I do still kind of stand by this, I felt, I've touched upon it before, on video, I made a video about it, I felt and feel that by having such an eclectic channel, which I feel mine is, I feel it puts people off, say from the music community, subscribing because they may not like games, even though I just said there that a lot of people who like games like music. But I just felt like if you really, really like music, and of course it encompasses people of all ages and demographics, but especially a lot of the older people, maybe they're not really into the games and stuff. I don't know. I just feel that's the case. Although I'm slightly contradicting myself, I guess, aren't I? But I just felt that it put people off who are from a music background subscribing to my channel because I've got football and because I've got gaming. And I just thought, well, do you know what? Let's just do a separate music channel. And then that way, if you really like music, you can subscribe to it without any distractions. But it's just not really working. Like I say, I've met some really nice people, and that's great. But what I think I'm going to have to do is dual upload my vids, like I've done with this last one. So I'll put the very same vid on my music channel, and the same day I'll just upload it onto this one. And then that way, if someone stumbles upon it and they love music, then they can subscribe to the music channel. And if they're very kind of eclectic and they don't mind seeing gaming vids, they don't mind seeing football vids, diary vids, vlogs, whatever it may be, then they can subscribe to this. I think I kind of butchered that topic, really. I think I was doing all right until I got to the bit about gaming and people not liking it, but then saying, well, maybe gamers like music as well. I just really kind of contradicted myself. But hopefully you understood the point I was getting to. So, yeah, so I'm going to persevere with the music topic for a while, on or the music channel, I should say. But it's not going well. It's slow. It is a slow burner. And it was a real eye-opener when because I did it deliberately. It wasn't just a case of, oh, I'm thinking of bringing music videos back, let's just put it on. It was deliberately, a deliberate decision of me to upload the very same video, which has got 48 views after a month, onto this channel to see how well it would do. And it was just like, when I saw the kind of the figures coming through, the likes, the interaction, the views, I just thought, well, why am I trying to go off and form this new community? Why am I doing that? Why don't I just stick to this channel and put it on here, at least put it on here as well as the other channel? Because otherwise, all my videos that I'm making on this other channel, they'd be wasted. There's like 20 people are watching them. What's the point? Because as much as we all say, and many of us do this, we come out with the classic, oh, well, if nobody was watching, I'd still be making YouTube videos. No, you wouldn't. You would maybe for a while, but you would get bored. You really would, and you'd stop. Because we all make videos because we want people to watch. We want the interaction. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. So the fact that this other channel isn't really getting that many views right now, it just made me think, nah, this is ridiculous. I want to share my music. I want to share what I'm buying and what I'm being listening to with people. And so yeah, pat yourselves on the back. The gaming, if you like, community has risen to, stepped up to the plate. And it's just trouncing the music community, so I should have known that. So apologies for cheating. It might not happen again, but no promises. So yeah, we've rinsed that topic. Oh, man alive, the next topic, I've just looked at the list, the thing that I've got, the notes. Diet. Oh, Jesus. So a while ago, I think I did mention that, I'm going to start going on, not so much a diet as such, but healthy eating, watching what I'm eating, getting a bit more exercise in. And do you know what? In all honesty, for 2 weeks, not this week, but the previous 2 weeks, it actually went really, really well. And every day, other than, I think, maybe 3 out of the last 2 weeks, I was on the exercise bike from, say, 20, 25 minutes at a time, up until just over an hour. And it was quite easy. Initially, it was hard, because you've not done it for years in many cases, at least not regularly. So after maybe 5, 10 minutes, you're thinking, Christ, I want to get off this. I want to get off this bike. It's hurting. You know what I mean? And obviously, if it was hurting really bad, then I'd stop. But there's a small degree of a pain barrier that you've got to see yourself through. But after a while, after maybe 3 or 4 days, it became quite easy. And it was really satisfying to have a t-shirt on while you're on the exercise bike. It sounds a bit gross. And for it to be covered in sweat by the time you get off it, like an hour later, because it was an indication that you've worked really hard. And that, combined with the fact that I wasn't really, there was the occasional treat, but not really eating junk food, and eating a lot more kind of fruit and drinking a lot more water, I felt good. I genuinely felt better. Like after like a week or 2, I had more of a spring in my step. I just felt less lethargic. I just had more energy. Maybe a lot of it is psychological, maybe some of it is psychological, but I felt better. And then this past week, fallen off the wagon. Fallen spectacularly off the wagon with crisps. I must have had about 6 bags of crisps. Some of them kind of big ones as well, not just tiny packets. Chocolates, crisps, what do you call them, candies, sweets, the works. I've had everything, shortbread. I've just really got to town, and I feel really, really guilty about it. But, we're coming up to a new week, obviously just a couple of days or so away. And I'm going to get back on the exercise bike. And yeah, it was just a week. I had a week off where I really went to town and caved in spectacularly. But the first 2 weeks were really good, like I say. And you definitely feel an improvement in your body and your fitness. And yeah, really, really impressed. I can just see UPS arriving out there with something. That'll be on a pickups video next week. So if you hear someone knock in a minute, I'm just waiting to see if they kind of go up the drive. We'll see. But what they do, they don't stop. They don't knock and wait. What they do is they just knock and walk off. So there could be, like, at any time, some really expensive kit that they just leave on the doorstep and walk off. It is what it is. I guess I'm not too disappointed with that, because if I wasn't in, and they left a note saying that, oh, you've got to rearrange delivery, I'd be annoyed that they didn't leave it. So, you know, they can't win sometimes, UPS. So yeah, if you hear a loud bang in a minute, it's them knocking at the door. So yeah, the diet, it was going really, really well, and I'm going to get back on the wagon soon, or on the bike, I guess. And yeah, I think I'll do all right eventually. But I'm always prone to eating some kind of junk food. I've always been that way. I think I need to lose about 1.5 stone. I think that's probably my goal. Maybe ideally 2, but that might be pushing it. I think 1.5 stone and get back into some kind of semblance of fitness. I think I'd like to do that. That'd be beneficial long term as well as short term. So yeah, and I tell you what really helps. This is what I've been doing. So I'll have the exercise bike set up in this room, and I'll be looking at this very screen, this computer, albeit pushed back a little bit, and I'll have like a video. I'll look for like a virtual bike ride, and I'll you know, where basically people go out, they'll put a camera, like a GoPro or something, on the front of their bike, and then you can absorb like all the scenery. So it's almost like when you're pedaling on your exercise bike, it's like you're doing that ride. So last week, or the week before as well, I've been riding through France, through Germany, through the Cotswolds, or what's it called? Yeah, the Cotswolds, isn't it? In like Yorkshire. I've been riding everywhere, all over the world. It's brilliant. And obviously some videos are better quality than others. Some last longer than other vids. Some are just short, kind of 15-20 minute rides. Others are kind of more severe, like 1, 2, 3 hour sessions. I'm not ready for the 3 hour one. But I've done a couple of 1 hour sessions. And like I say, after a while it becomes quite easy. And when you've got something to focus on, you know, especially with all the distractions of the scenery, you know, you see the cars going by, you see the fields, you see the shops and the streets. It makes the exercising on the bike really simple, almost enjoyable, quite frankly. And yeah, it doesn't hurt after a while, which is good. But initially it does. It kind of hurts your ankles, not so much your ankles, more your calves, ultimately. Yeah, not your ankles at all, actually. Don't know why I said that. It definitely kind of puts a strain on your calves, but it's enjoyable, and I can definitely see going forward me doing it a lot more regular. I've just got to stop doing the bloody the junk food binge sessions. It's crazy. So yeah, watching the videos where it's got scenery in the background with people cycling is great. Also, just watching YouTube vids, just of people talking. Like the other day, I watched, I think, 3 or 4 vids of what's his? I think he's changed his name, hasn't he? In more recent months, it's Paul, Mr. Bad's Games, or is it Mr. Bad's Retro Games? I think he changed his name and it kind of threw me, or maybe he didn't. But I binge watched 3 or 4 of his vids the other day, or last week, and they were just what I did. I put them on like a save it for later, like a watch list, a playlist, and then I had them up set ready to play one after the other as soon as the other one finished, and it lasted just over an hour. So I had an hour of Paul watching him while I was just on the bike, and again, it helps with the time to go by. Listening to music also helps. But the thing with music for me is because it's not a visual thing. It's just an audio thing, of course. So I found that a little bit harder because you're looking around the room and it was just, yeah, it was more stressful. But if you're focusing on a video, people talking, people moving, that for me is a really good idea, and it definitely helps. Maybe you want to do that as well. So yeah, exercise bikes, up until the last week, I've been good on it and enjoying it. Next week, I'll be back on it. And then a couple of other topics I want to briefly talk about. Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Now, I have got here, I don't know why I'm showing this as a prop, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on the PlayStation 4. Now, I've played the multiplayer very, very briefly when it came out. The truth is I just didn't like it. I really didn't, so I stopped playing it. And the campaign I started, it's not too bad, it's not brilliant. I started it about, well, when did that game come out? A couple of years ago? I've not really been back to it for about a year. I'm probably about halfway through. But Black Ops for me, as a franchise, as a series, is something I never really acclimatised to, never really took to it. Black Ops 1 and 2 were okay. 3, well, certainly not online, and 4 will definitely be not for me. At least I don't think it will be. Because if you don't know, Call of Duty 4, which is due out I think in October, or Call of Duty Black Ops 4 I should say, is not going to have a traditional campaign. So I think what they mean by that is there's not going to be a campaign, i.e. like a story, like a normal campaign single player mode. But what they may do is implement some kind of like story sections. Whether it will be online or offline remains to be seen. And in fact, that may not even be there. It may transpire that it's completely online. It's a multiplayer experience. That's kind of where they're going. and obviously YouTube, Twitter, social media is up in arms about it. And I do understand why, and I, to a very large degree, understand it and agree with it as well. But the thing is with Call of Duty is you're going to have to presume that the developers know what they're doing, maybe. And maybe they've looked at the statistics and they'll be able to get this through online play and trophies and achievements on the Xbox and the PlayStation respectively. And maybe the majority of people who play Call of Duty games are not playing the campaign. And if that's the case, then at least from their perspective, you've got to bear in mind that they want to make money. They're a business. And they're probably thinking, well, why put all this money, millions upon millions, into a campaign when maybe 10% or 20% or 30% or whatever it is are playing it and everyone else is taking it online? So if that's the case, I kind of understand it. I don't agree with it, but I can at least understand where they're coming from if that's the case. But Call of Duty for me, you'll all know, I think, if you've been subscribed to my channel for a long time, that I used to really enjoy it. But the chances are you probably did as well. Most people did. But for me, Call of Duty, certainly when it comes to online play, really just took a back seat, and that's an understatement, when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out. Last generation, I loved, I got progressively more annoyed with it as each release came along, but I really did enjoy it, especially the Modern Warfare game, Call of Duty World at War, and then Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 to a lesser degree, but I did still like it. And in between that there was Black Ops, and then after Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, which was okay, but by that point I was getting a little bit annoyed with it, and it was quite a stress fest when it came to online multiplayer. You know, the classics of people camping, cheating, glitching, back chatting, and foul language on the chat. And I just couldn't be bothered with that. Don't get me wrong, I did it myself sometimes, of course, but it wasn't really for me. I was getting older, we all are, of course, but it was just like, this is not appealing to me anymore. So I'm not going to lie, last generation Call of Duty, like I say, I enjoyed it. This generation, it's not been for me. I did briefly take the last game, World War II, online. And to be fair, it's okay. It's probably, for me, the best Call of Duty game since the last generation of 360 and the PS3. But I got bored pretty quickly. What I've done occasionally, and what I don't mind doing, is taking it offline and playing all the maps with bots. So you can set the settings, how many players you want to play against, how many you want on your team. Do you want to do kill confirmed, team deathmatch, hardcore, what map do you want to choose, all those kind of things. And I like that. There's no stress. You're playing against a computer. So I enjoy that still from time to time. Rarely, but from time to time. But taking Call of Duty online against other people, I am absolutely not interested and haven't been for years. For years and years and years. Like I say, last generation. Now, if I'm playing with friends, there may be an exception to the rule, because that can bring an element of fun to it, because it's banter, you're having a laugh. But taking it online with a bunch of randoms, absolutely not interested anymore. I'm really not. And of course, I used to do on my channel, many of you will remember this, I used to do the Black Ops, not the Black Ops, well, yeah, there was some Black Ops. The COD files, that's what you call it, the COD files vids. And they used to go down pretty well. A lot of people used to watch them, and we used to have a lot of fun making them and talking about them and stuff. One or two times I think I played with a couple of YouTubers on there, and it was fun. It was fun back in the day, but yeah, not anymore. The funny thing about that though, was I was looking through my hard drive the other day, and amongst all the pornography, obviously I'm joking, amongst a lot of other stuff that I found on there, I found some old COD file Black Ops vids, which I never uploaded to my channel. I've not done any commentary over the top of them, it's just the gameplay. And part of me, just for a millisecond, thought, should I upload some COD files to my channel? But I don't know, people may go, I might froth at the mouth and might not want to see that. So we'll see. I might do it for a laugh, just for a laugh. But listen, here's a heads up. If I upload any COD file videos on my channel, it's just for fun. COD is rubbish. I'm not into it anymore. Not online anyway. It's just a video to make. It's just a bit of fun. That's all it is. But I might not do it. But I'm just saying, I found them the other day and I did pretty well in the gameplay. Because I used to be like a ninja at it. I was bloody great, if I say so myself. And so I may upload those vids. Just if I'm maybe struggling for content, if I haven't uploaded a vid for a while, I might whack out a COD file vid. In terms of doing a new COD file vid, probably not. The moment has passed really quite a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. So that's that. So yes, so the new Call of Duty, essentially, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, is ultimately going to be an online experience. And yeah, one of my main criticisms, if you've seen the trailer, is that it looks exactly like Black Ops 3. I mean, exactly like it. The same colour palette is being used, the same scenery, it just looks exactly the same, which is lazy. It's like an 8, 9, 10-year-old engine they're still using, and it's going to get absolutely blown out of the water by Battlefield 5 when that comes out. It really is. I don't know if you just heard the knock on the door. That took ages. Why are he still out there? Yeah, the UPS van's still out there. Maybe he's having his lunch outside. I don't know what he's doing. So I'll have to go and get that door in a minute. So if there's a jump cut, you know why. If not, I'll just wait and I'll get the package in a second. Anyway, so yeah, it looks exactly like Black Ops 3, and which to me is really lazy. So it's not just that, which looks bad. Same game engine, same colour palette. It's the same franchise, which Black Ops, do people really want another Black Ops game? Not really. And of course, it's an online game, and I'm not sure that's going to go down well at all. I'm really not. Well, it hasn't so far from the internet reaction. So will I be buying it? Well, you might think, well, obviously not after saying that. Well, probably not. Probably not. But I do like to try new things out, and we'll see. I probably won't buy it because the older I get, the less I play online, and the more I want to play campaigns. When I was younger, I was very much quite a hardcore multiplayer gamer, but not so much these days. So yeah, I highly doubt I'll buy Black Ops 4. It doesn't sound like it's going to be for me, but it'll be interesting to see how well it does. Without a campaign, it could fall completely on its arse. It really could. Battlefield 5 for me, as I was touching upon a second ago, looks much better. It really does. That is focusing on World War II. The last Battlefield game, which they call Battlefield 1, was that last year or the year before? That was in World War 1. And yeah, I've got to be honest, I quite enjoy that. I've not played it online for ages, but I have played it online, and I do enjoy it. But Call of Duty Online, just yeah, it's a thing of the past. And I think the franchise in general, I'm kind of surprised it's still going. They just do not reinvent the wheel. The gameplay is exactly the same. I mean, to be fair, it sort of works, so I guess there's that old adage of if it's not broken, don't fix it. But in terms of, I don't know, it just feels stale. It feels stale and has done for a long, long time. And yeah, I'm surprised it's still going. If you want to play an online game, and obviously an offline game as well, Battlefield 5, check that out. That looks really, really good. So that's that. Now moving on to what have I been playing recently. So I've got one physical game to show you. This game is also going to be on a pickups video, maybe next week or the week after. So a bit of a spoiler reveal in a way here, preview of one of the games. And then the other two are digital games. Now I'm not going to have any video footage, because I don't have a capture card. I used to. I may have to get one again. So I'm just going to put some stills up on the screen and talk a little bit about them. So I'm not going to go in depth, just a little tiny bit. But the first game is this one. This is the physical game, and it's Wolfchild on the Super Nintendo. You'll see that this is the American SNES version, and there's two reasons for this. Well, one main obvious reason, but the first one is, you know, I'll be honest and I'll say you all know me by now, and I do love the PAL collecting, if you want to call it collecting, or buying. And of course it revolves around nostalgia, being so nostalgic. I like the PAL stuff because when I look at the box art and the colours of the boxes and everything to do with it, it reminds me of being a kid. So being so nostalgic, that's the one I kind of gravitate to. But I'm not going to lie to you, there have been many occasions, more than you'd care to imagine, many occasions in the past 10 years, I guess, since I've lived here, where I've looked at my buying methods, i.e. buying and importing PAL games, and I have wondered, what am I doing? Is this a bit silly? And I don't know. Sometimes I do think maybe I should just completely cut off the PAL stuff. But then I want the PAL stuff because it is nostalgia. So I think where I'm kind of at now, to be fair, is where I've been at for a few years behind the scenes. And I'll prioritise the PAL stuff. But if an American game comes along, I'm not going to hesitate in getting it. If the price is right and the condition's good, I'll buy it. And that's kind of what I do. So I prioritise the PAL stuff, but I'm not adverse to picking up American games. It just makes a lot of sense. Also, I think one of the things you've got to bear in mind, let's just take, this isn't a great example to use, but let's just presume that this was a PAL game and I'd imported it from the UK. Now, what you've got to remember, let's just say it went for 30 quid. Now, 30 quid is approximately like $45. But the shipping, if you're in the UK and you buy this on eBay, you're probably going to get free shipping, free postage. That's not unusual for fellow eBayers in the UK, right? So you get free shipping and you pay your 30 quid. Now, I pay 45 quid for it, $45, sorry, because of the conversion rate. Plus, I'm going to pay shipping. And shipping for every game is around about, in dollars, about 15 to 20. So for every single PAL game that I buy, I'm paying $15 or $20 more just for shipping. For every one. And if you think about it, you know, for 2, 5, 10 games, whatever it is, that's extortionate. And for every game I buy, that could be a game in itself that I could buy from America. So the shipping is ridiculous. And it's made me think, certainly in more recent years, what am I doing? It's kind of ridiculous. One of the interesting things about this is that this did not get a PAL release, but for whatever reason, it got an American release, as you can quite clearly see. The weird thing about this is that this came out in 1993, but in 1992, it came out in PAL regions on the Amiga and ST, but it didn't come out on the SNES. I don't know. I don't know why. It's Virgin Games. It's a big publisher. It was a common game. It's a platformer with kind of, you know, shoot 'em up elements to it, but ultimately it's a platformer. And it came out on the Amiga and ST. Why didn't it come out on the SNES? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The only thing I can think of is obviously maybe they intended it to come out on the SNES in PAL regions, but there was a number of other projects which they were prioritising, so they just didn't get round to it. And then maybe by the time they thought of doing it, you know, maybe another year or two had gone by, and I guess by that time, would have been 94, 95, I mean, the PlayStation 1 was on the horizon, wasn't it? Or it was out, of course, by that time as well. So maybe they intended to release it and they just didn't get round to doing it. Now, I was watching another Alex, Nintendo Arcade, this is maybe 2 or 3 months back, and he had this, the American version, of course, on a pickup video, and he was quite scathing. He didn't like it, and listen, to be fair, it's not great. It's not an essential purchase if you buy Super Nintendo games. But I quite like it. Maybe I quite like it because I've got nostalgia for the Amiga version. Maybe, and the ST. Maybe that's why. Maybe also because I like platform games. So again, it will allow that kind of nostalgia to dictate, you know, what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, you know, why you like a game which blatantly isn't very good. Because this isn't great, but it's still decent. And I tell you what, I'm not going to show it in this vid. There's another platform game which I bought on the SNES, another American one actually, and I'm not sure if that got a PAL release. That'll be on my pickups vid in a couple of weeks, or next week, whenever. And that is rubbish, that really is. So I tell you what, Alex, if you're watching this and you didn't like this, you're going to hate that other one. Although I'll laugh if you love the other one that I don't like, and you don't like this one I do like. It's kind of weird. But yeah, but we'll save talking about that until the next vid. But yeah, Wolfchild on the SNES. I tell you what, remember it came out in 1993 on the SNES and 92 on the Amiga. But I've noticed a few differences. One of them on the Super Nintendo is that maybe halfway through the first level, you get an implementation and use of Mode 7, which of course was really big on the SNES. That clearly isn't in the Amiga version. Also, on the SNES version, on level 2, which I think is the jungle, you get rain effects. They look really nice, albeit in a very 16-bit way. And that wasn't on the Amiga version. Now, that's not because the Amiga couldn't handle it, because of course it could. But I think, like I say, because this came out a year later, the SNES version, maybe they just went back and they added things to it, just to freshen it up a little bit. So yeah, there's a few differences between the Amiga and the Super Nintendo version. Also, I noticed the colours. The colours on the Super Nintendo are very kind of, it's not so much like they're more vibrant as such, because the Amiga obviously is a great system. The Amiga's more detailed, and this is more reliant on colours kind of in your face. Like I said, you could almost see by the vibrancy of the purple, it really sticks out, it pops out on the screen there, and it's like they focus more on that. It's a bit hazy, it's in your face, it's a bit blurry, but it's more detailed on the Amiga, but it still looks good, and it's essentially the same game ultimately. So yeah, so I do like it. I know, like I say, the other Alex, I mean there's more than one other Alex in the world of course, but Alex Nintendo Arcade, he's not a fan of it, but I don't mind it. So I'd say if you like platformers, give it a try, just don't expect it to be amazing. But I think it's alright. For me, we're looking at around about, did my voice just break there? Brilliant. For me, it's probably a 6 or, well, not 6, I'd say a 7. I'm going to go in there with a 7. I think maybe for the Amiga version, maybe an 8. I think the Amiga version is better. But I am enjoying it. Now, the other 2 games I've been playing recently, like I say, there's going to be some photos, not any video footage. I will maybe get a capture card in the future. But the first one I've been playing is Horizon Chase Turbo. And this is a real kind of homage, if you like, to retro racers. Predominantly things like, what's the main one, I guess? Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge. And that's a really good example to use, actually, because the guy who does the music for this PlayStation 4 game, and it's not currently out on the Xbox One, I don't know why. I think it's just a Steam and a PlayStation 4 exclusive. So, if you've not got an Xbox One, or if you have an Xbox One, I guess you're not going to play it. But yeah, the person who did the music for the first couple, I think it was the first couple, of Lotus games back in the Amiga and ST days, and maybe the 8-bit systems as well, was Barry Leach, I think you pronounce his name. Leach or Leach, I think, well, let's go with Leach. Barry Leach. And he's doing the music for this, so it's real kind of nice to, especially if you grew up on Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge and the Amiga and ST and 8-bit computers, then it's a nice little kind of touch to the past there that he's involved with this. Now, it's sort of a very kind of modern and futuristic-y soundtrack, albeit with elements of nostalgia as well. Yeah, it just works well. It's really nice that they've included him on the game. So, yeah, it's a good game. It's a budget game. I say a budget game. I think it was like $20. So quite pricey. That's about 14, 15 quid. But I think it's worth it. There's about 110 tracks, I think, and several different countries and continents you can race on. There's a lot of cars to choose from. There's also a lot of replayability in the sense that when you're racing, you can pick up tokens and nitros and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't get them all, then you can go back to them and try and do them for the next one to get a super trophy. And by getting a super trophy, you just pick up all the coins, if you like, essentially. So, and some of them are really challenging. Some of them are quite easy. It's a nice mixture. So the graphics are nice. The playability is good. I did watch a review a while back, I think on the day it came out, which incidentally is when I bought it. I bought it on the day, or downloaded it on the day it came out. But a particular review that I watched before I downloaded it said that sometimes when you crash into the back of a car, it can really bring you to a halt, and loads of cars can overtake you. And yeah, sometimes that happens, but it doesn't always happen. So to be fair, that wasn't strictly accurate. Maybe you just played like half an hour of the game and got that initial feeling. But if you play the game a lot more, that can happen, but it doesn't always. And it also depends, it doesn't appear as if there's too much rubber banding in the game, which is what that review was hinting at, i.e. where cars can always catch up with you. Because there's been a number of times where I have come to a standstill and no one's caught up with me because I was so far ahead. So, or ahead of the cars behind me. So yeah, so I quite like it. It's a budget game. It looks nice. It's obviously not a full price release game, hence being $20 and not looking amazing. You don't look at it and think, wow, that's a AAA kind of category game. It isn't. It's just an indie game, but it's good. It works well. I'm enjoying it. I'd say for the first couple of days I was playing it non-stop, and like anything with me, I kind of get a bit bored of it and I move away from it. But I will go back to it. It's a good game. Maybe $20 is steep. I did put a tweet out and I did say that, and the developers I think kind of liked it and retweeted it, even though I said it was steep for $20. So I'd say maybe if you're on the fence, maybe wait for a sale. Inevitably, it will be on sale in the future. If you see it for around about $10 or less, I think it'll be a really good purchase. So yeah, I'm liking it. It's fun. It plays like an old game with like a hybrid of a new one as well, with the old kind of style graphics, but with new modern playability. It looks good. I'm enjoying it. So that's that one. And then the other one I've been playing, and this is another that I downloaded on the day that it came out. I don't think I've put a tweet out about this one, but it's Rage Injustice. Now, I remember seeing this around about 2 years ago, maybe more. The developers promoting it on social media, probably Twitter, I imagine, and it looked really good. As you can see from the screenshots, it's basically just a side-scrolling fighter. Old school, traditional, Streets of Rage, Final Fight. There's clear inspirations from those games and, of course, many others from that genre. And yeah, it's good. It looks good, the graphics are good. It's just a side-scrolling fighter. I don't know what else I can say. So yeah, Rage Injustice, it's something I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. One of the things I like about it is that it's $9.99, and that's in dollars. So I presume in pounds, 6 quid, 6 or 7 quid, and you can't go wrong. It's just pence. Obviously, there's no physical version. It's going to put a lot of people off. To me, makes no difference, whatever. Yeah, in an ideal world, would I like a box? Well, yes, if I've got the choice, I'd like a box. But I'm not going to buy it just because it doesn't have a box. That, to me, is crazy. You're missing out on a potentially really good experience. Let's move on to the questions. There's only a couple, like I say. Well, in fact, there's more than a couple of questions, but a couple of people have asked the questions. So if you've got any questions for next week, please feel free to ask. If not, I won't be offended. Like I said, I think at the start of the vid, when people do these other videos themselves, where people ask questions, I seldom ask any. I tend to be someone who likes to watch the videos and hope other people ask questions, so I've got more to watch, but I can not be bothered, really, myself to ask questions. So I guess I'm getting a bit humble pie here, where the same's kind of happened to me. But I'm fine with it. I understand it. I'm not offended. And like I say, there is a contingency plan, maybe next week or going forward, if there aren't any questions. So it's fine. But Pete, Snestastic, thank you very much, Pete. There's 6 questions altogether. And the first one is, do you own a smartphone? If so, which one? I ask because you've never talked about or have shown a phone in your vids or on social, i.e. Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. Yeah, I don't own one, Pete. I don't own a phone, let alone a smartphone. I know it's a bit ridiculous. Well, kind of. It's not plugged in. Can you... Oh, let me just plug it out, actually. There you go. You can see a little bit. Bloody hell, talk about the vibrancy of the light there, the sunshine in. Yeah, it's an iPod. I've got an iPod Touch, and I've had 2 or 3 of these in the past. It does the trick for me. Just turn it off there. It does everything I want it to do. You can access the internet, albeit when there's a reception, whatever the terminology is, like a wireless connection. You can go on there then. You can check your emails and all that kind of stuff. Also, you can, if you download apps, you can use it as a phone. But again, albeit you've got to have that connection. You can't just use it anywhere. So I understand it's not ideal. And I understand I'm probably one of the very few people taking part in this vid, watching it, listening to it, making it, who doesn't have a smartphone or a phone. I know I'm a little bit out of touch there, which is really weird because I do like technology. I like technology. As you may know, I'm using like an iMac, I've got the iPod Touch, PS4s, all that kind of stuff. And other things around the house. When that Alexa thing came out from Amazon, I've got that. I don't really use it. I know people talk about it spying on you, the government, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, whatever. But yeah, so I like technology. But for whatever reason, I've just not got a phone. I did back in, I think, around about 1999, nearly 20 years ago. And I probably had it for 2 or 3 years. I did have a phone. In fact, I had it for maybe a good few years after that, to be fair. But I just hardly used it. It was a Vodafone. And I remember buying it. If anyone remembers, back in those days, in the late 90s and right at the turn of the millennium, if you used your interactive button on your Sky remote control, you could do a bit of shopping. I think it was called Talk 21. I might be wrong on that. And I remember seeing this offer came up and it said, you know, choose your Vodafone and here's your package and all the rest of it. And it was really cheap. And I thought, well, yeah, everyone's getting phones, you know, it's coming up to the millennium, you know, 1999. And I thought, let's get one. And I bought one. It was like a nice blue one. If I can find a picture, I'll put it up of one which looked like mine. If not, well, I couldn't find one. But yeah, so I had that. And I just used, it was like a SIM card. I can't even remember how it worked. So I wasn't on a contract. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if not the main reason, because obviously a phone is really handy. Obviously, like I say, if you're out and about, if you're lost, if for whatever reason you need a phone, great idea to have one. But I think the reason that puts me off is that they're so expensive. Not for the phone itself, but for these contracts. I was speaking to one of my wife's cousins, last Christmas I think it was. We were around their house, having like a New Year's dinner, or no, it was Christmas Eve. We usually go around there on Christmas Eve. And, you know, some of the family kind of get together over there. And my wife brought up the topic of like, you know, I didn't have a phone. I was like, well, thanks for embarrassing me. You know, everyone in the house here has got a bloody phone apart from me. But I was talking to one of my wife's cousins, and just out of curiosity, because he got his phone out and it looked really cool, and he's like, look, you can do all this stuff on it. He's a little bit younger than me. And so, you know, he was like, you know, kind of all the online games that you can do on there, all the apps, all that kind of stuff. And I said, that looks great, and I'd maybe use it every now and again. I said, but how much are you paying per month? And I'm not even joking, and I might have this wrong, but he said something crazy, and it blew my mind. And he said it so nonchalantly. nonchalantly. Have I got that right? I don't know. That'll teach me for going for a big word. He said it with such nonchalance. There you go. We'll go for the alternative. He was like, "It's just, it's only $200," and I nearly fell off my seat. Honestly, I was like, $200 bloody dollars, and he's like, "Yeah." He says, "Well, that's kind of the going rate," and it blew my mind. I could not believe that he was paying the best part of $200 a month for the privilege of being able to use the telephone if and when he wanted to, play on these games via apps and access the internet. To me, it's the biggest waste of bloody money ever. And I know I sound like a Victor Meldrew, which, as I touched upon in a previous video, I'm definitely getting more like the older I get. But I couldn't believe it. That is extortionate. It's ridiculous. So, ultimately, Pete, if that's what we're talking about, you know, $150, $200, I need a swig of tea here. Yeah, that is ludicrous. It's absolutely extortionate money. It really is. By the way, did you see that? For whatever reason, look at this. I didn't put my middle finger there when I picked it up. That was weird. I don't know why I felt the need to tell you that. So yeah, I don't own a smartphone. Maybe I'll get one in the future. But in all honesty, I don't think I'd use it. I really don't think I'd use it. So, question number 2. Have you upgraded to a 4K Blu-ray? If not, do you have any interest in doing so? Well, again, here's me talking about being so into technology and buying the latest gizmos. And here's another one I've not got. I've not got a 4K Blu-ray. I do have a 4K TV, and that is really good. And you definitely notice an improvement in the visuals, without question. And yeah, it's hard to go back to a standard TV now, 1080 or whatever it's called, HD, all that kind of stuff. 4K for now is the future until 5K or whatever K comes out further down the line. But I don't have a 4K Blu-ray. I think for me, Pete, it comes down to the fact that I'm not massively into my movies. I used to be, as you'll be aware, and I've started, as you'll also be aware, to get back into it slowly. But I'm not massively into it, so I don't buy too many Blu-rays. You can probably see a few behind me there. There we go. I do have more than that. There's a lot more actually downstairs in the living room in like one of the cabinets. And my wife's got loads as well, but I'm not massively into it, so I don't see the point of buying a 4K Blu-ray right now. Maybe one day, but by the time, knowing me, that I get round to it, something else would have superseded it and we'll just end up getting that instead. So that's that. Question number 3. Shania Twain recently apologised for saying she would have voted Trump if she was American. A backlash from her fans, as she put, ensued, and she backed down. I feel she had nothing to apologise for, and it sets a bad precedent. Thoughts? Yeah, I've not seen the story, so I can't comment too much other than what you've said. I mean, you've painted a pretty decent picture of it. Basically, she said she would have voted Trump, and people are giving her stick for saying so on Twitter and other forms of social media. Yeah, I mean, it depends how you want to look at this. I mean, it is a bit ridiculous how you, if you believe something, whatever it is, can say it, and then people criticise you for your own views. You're an adult, you are entitled to your views, whatever it is. But on the other hand, she was a bit silly for saying it in the sense that she should have known that she's going to get a lot of stick. Maybe she doesn't care, although maybe she must care if she's apologised. Yeah, maybe that's a bit weird. Why has she apologised? I don't know. I'd have to look into it, Pete. Maybe I should have before answering the question. I don't know why she's apologised for saying something that she believes in. Maybe she should have had the foresight not to have said it in the first place. Like I say, because of the reaction it would have got or did get. But, as I say, that's censorship. And that's not a great thing. Well, depending on what it is, I guess. Obviously, there's certain things which I don't think should be out there. We're talking, proper stupid stuff. So I don't know what to think of that, Pete. I don't think she should have apologised, but yeah, I don't know. People should be allowed to say whatever they want within reason. People talk about free speech. But here's the thing: we all know, if you think about it, free speech. It doesn't actually exist if you think about it, because we can't say anything we want. We can only say what society dictates is acceptable. So free speech to say whatever you want doesn't exist. Well, to a degree, you can say it, but then you might get into trouble. But then it's not really free, is it? So when people say free speech, free country, yeah, to a degree. But also I'm not necessarily complaining about that, because as I touched upon a second ago, you can't really say anything. There's certain things which you shouldn't be allowed to say, in my opinion. So therefore, I guess that's like I don't support free speech, although I kind of do. It's a weird one. I think ultimately, the way I see myself is my views on most things in life, when it comes to society, when it comes to politics. I think most people think like I do. Most people do. So, and I like to think I'm in the majority. 90% of people think like I do. So if 10% of people are saying crazy stuff, then they're in the minority. Maybe that shouldn't be allowed to be said. It's a dangerous one though, isn't it? Because it is censorship. And how would we feel if, you know, people started stopping what we wanted to say? I don't know, it's a difficult one. So I've really bugged up your question there, Pete. How do I feel about it? Ultimately though, I guess she shouldn't have apologised. But she should have been intelligent enough to know that she shouldn't have said it, in the sense that she's going to get a lot of criticism. So if you've got thick skin, then that's fine. But yeah, maybe she shouldn't apologise. That was a bit strange. Question number 4. Are the left out of control? They have good intentions, but go about it the wrong way. A lot of the time creating hypocrisy and being oblivious to the fact. It's an interesting one. I think on social media, and I use it quite a lot, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it may be, what you often see is, let's say there's somebody out there who is vehemently against Trump. You mentioned Trump in the previous question, Pete. Who is vehemently against Brexit, or who is against the Conservatives, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, David Cameron, any Conservative for that matter. What you often get is you'll get, and let's just presume they're on the left and the far left, they'll put out a tweet, and often those tweets get hundreds or thousands of retweets and likes, and similarly hundreds or thousands of comments. But really, when you analyse it, all it is people just agreeing with each other, for the most part. And it almost creates the illusion that the left, or far left specifically, are in the majority. It creates that illusion because they're everywhere. There's tweets everywhere, likes, retweets. But really, I think you have to ask yourself the question, are they in the majority? Probably not. They're probably a minority. And I say that because, well, we had Brexit, we had Trump, we had the Conservatives getting re-elected. If all those things were really bad and did not reflect the majority, why are they happening? So maybe the far left are in the minority, but it's that vocal majority. You know, you don't get that many people coming out talking about being pro-Brexit because it's happening. I'm kind of on the fence with Brexit. Sometimes I think it's a good thing, sometimes I don't. I'm pretty much on the fence as you can get, I've got to be honest. But irrespective of what I think, it's going to happen anyway, so whatever. But because you don't get too many people in comparison on the right, be it right-wing or centre-right, because you don't get too many people coming out tweeting things like that because it's happening, it, like I say, it creates that illusion that those people are in the minority. But the results came through of the referendums and the elections to say the contrary to that. So it's a weird one. But are they out of control? We live in strange times where, you know, I'm not a fan of most political correctness. There's some things which obviously I'm glad that we've changed for the better, that we would have said and done in the past, which you couldn't get away with now, and rightly so. Some things are just not very nice. And as time goes by, you learn. Different demographics, different scenarios, different situations in life. Things may have been appropriate and acceptable back then and are no longer the case. And that's fine, obviously. I'm very progressive. But I think sometimes people take it too far. We live in an era now where you've really got to watch what you say. The slightest thing you say, you're accused of being racist. Racist, I wonder if people even know what the term racist means anymore. People are just saying it for anything. And they just take it out of context. People want to be offended. People look for a way at being offended. And I think that's very unfortunate. Like I said before, I'm kind of centre-left, but centre-left with common sense. I think a lot, not everybody, obviously, but a lot of the far left are just very unreasonable. they're very unreasonable. They're all, this sounds very patronising, but they're all very nice and friendly, and I'm sure they all mean well, but it's just it's too much. It's too much. Be like me. Be straight down the middle. Have common sense. That's kind of how I look at it. But also with politics as well, what doesn't help is that with the Labour Party, and I have voted Labour in the past. I think the last general election, I voted for Corbyn. Again, I was really on the fence. I didn't know what to do, but I did vote for Jeremy Corbyn. It could easily have been May. I'm being honest, it could have. When I first started voting, when I was first eligible for voting, it would have been 1997. I was 18 or 19, and I voted Tony Blair. And I'll be honest, I'll be absolutely honest, I largely voted for Tony Blair because a lot of people in the media were saying it was cool to vote for Blair. Cool Britannia. Noel Gallagher coming out saying Tony Blair, I remember him saying he's the man. He came out with that quote. And a lot of other rock stars. And because I was very impressionable, 18, 19, a teenager, I was like, yeah, I'll vote for Blair. I was influenced, and I think a lot of people are influenced, even today, by social media, by celebrities. So I think a lot of people vote for things like, or didn't vote for Brexit, or didn't vote for Theresa May because of artists, musicians and celebrities, ultimately, telling people not to. Rich celebrities, by the way. So who couldn't give a toss about you. They care more about money than anything else. But we're going off on a bit of tangent. But ultimately, like I said, I did vote Labour last time. And I may in the future, who knows. Traditionally, I am a Labour voter. Question number 5. What type of vlog channels do you watch? I couldn't really name too many off the top of my head, because I've not watched any for a while. But if you watched my last vid, which was a tag response video called the Getting to Know You tag, there was 2 tags, or 2 videos, 2 channels, third time lucky, that I've started to watch, which you may want to check out, Pete. I say started to watch. There's the Pixie Dust channel, which I've been watching her for about a year or so. I don't watch everything she does. I guess we could all say the same about everybody we're subscribed to. But she's very nice and friendly, and I watch a fair few vids. And so I watch her stuff. There's a big focus on Disney, so if you're not into Disney, you're not really going to get a deal out of that, a great deal out of it. But she does like gaming as well, so she does the occasional bit of gaming on there. And also, that tag response was originated by Lisa Loves. Now, again, Lisa Loves has a lot of content on there which isn't really my cup of tea, because she has a lot of kind of horror movies on there, and I'm a wimp. I don't like all that kind of stuff. I'll watch the odd scary movie here and there, of course, don't get me wrong. But I don't tend to watch those videos. But when she does other vlogs and chat kind of stuff, I'll watch that. So you may want to check those 2 videos out, P. Also, the Soup's Eye View. I know his name is Mark. And Mark's got a really good channel. I've always liked his stuff. Very passionate about what he does and what he talks about. It's gaming related, it's comic book related, it's just life related. He just comes across really well. I gave him a very backhanded compliment about a year or 2 ago when I shouted him out, and I thought he may have been older than me, and it transpires he's about 10 years younger than me, maybe slightly less than 10, but I was shocked initially. So, and he had a laugh about it. Obviously I didn't mean it to be offensive in any way. But yeah, so I really like Mark. He's got a really good channel, and so again, I'll put a link to all these, check them out, and there's probably more, but yeah, I actually unsubscribed from a couple recently. They were massive channels in the scheme of things. But what they were doing is they were uploading every single day, and it was following them around, like doing shopping and everyday chores. And it just got a bit too much for me. It was too much to focus on. And what it's kind of highlighted for me is that the vlogs that I like to watch are the 3 channels that I just mentioned. And what this is as a vlog, i.e. people putting a camera on, pressing record, just sitting in front of the camera and talking. That's what I like. No real distractions. You can just absorb it. There's not a lot to look at in the background. Things aren't moving around every 5 seconds. And you can do what I sometimes do, which is have the audio on. You're listening, but you're kind of half listening. You're kind of tuning in and out. You may be typing like emails or doing whatever you're doing. So that's the kind of vlogs I like, i.e. these ones. I just find them a lot more engaging and a lot more personal, and I just have more fun with them. So that's that. Question number 6. Is there a genre of music you find impossible to get into? If so, are you willing to try and find an artist or band that will click with you? Well, the genres that I just do not like are ones which I've always been consistent with, and primarily it's like proper kind of thrash metal. If you're roaring, this is my kind of general rule of thumb, if you can't understand what the person is singing about, if they're shouting and roaring and screeching down the mic, I'm not interested. Not interested. I just don't like it. I don't like that really heavy stuff. To me, it's rubbish. It's not music, it's just a noise. I don't like, and I never have. I've always been consistent with that. So I'm not even going to give it a chance because I know I don't like it. Another genre that I'm not massively into, but I don't mind from time to time, is rap. It's just not really my kind of thing. But funnily enough, and this is very tame, I'm sure people who are really into their rap music will kind of have a chuckle at this one, but in the late 90s especially, I kind of, a little bit, got into things like Warren G. I quite like Warren G. I remember he did the cover of I Shot the Sheriff, which is pretty good. And maybe, I don't know if this is tame or not, maybe it's kind of borderline, but I got into a little bit of like Tupac Shakur, just a little bit. Did I even pronounce his name right? Let's just say Tupac. And I didn't mind that, and there's one or two others, Coolio with Gangsta's Paradise, and like I say, one or two other artists who I've kind of forgotten, but I've never really been into it. It's just okay. It's just very much okay. And then the other one is country music. Give or take the odd exception here and there, a little bit of Dolly Parton. I can give you two reasons why I like Dolly Parton, if you know what I mean. And what's the other one? Nancy Griffiths. Nancy Griffiths, really like her. She's got some good stuff. She's been around a long, long time. And there's other people as well. But country music for me is just not my thing. I don't relate to it. It's the sound, it's the references. It's very American, country-centric. And I just, it's not for me. So yeah, anything else I'm kind of open to. But yeah, that's my kind of thing. And also, really, when you get to my age, I'm not that old in the scheme of things, but you kind of know what you like and you don't like. And never say never in the future. It's always worth leaving the door a little bit ajar, just in case. Unless it's thrash metal, doors shut and bolted. But yeah, I guess never say never. That's the best way I can look at it. So thank you, Pete, for the questions. The next questions are from Dylan Craven. That's John Craven's son, if you remember John Craven's news round back in the 80s and early 90s, I guess. Question number 1. So when it comes to chocolate, which do you prefer, UK or US chocolate? Oh, it's UK, without question. It's very hard to describe it because I've been here for 10 years now. But all I can tell you is that when I first got here and I tried some American equivalent, I think it was like a Milky Way or a Twix would have been another one. And I tried the American version and it was like instantly, I was like, what the hell is this? It didn't taste the same at all. There was more of an emphasis of it being sweet, more sugary. It just didn't taste right. The UK version was much more chocolatey. The focus was on chocolate. Over here, the focus is on the sweeteners. And yeah, I wasn't a fan. Over time, it's been 10 years. I've obviously got used to it. My taste buds now, they don't really see a difference because I very rarely have UK chocolate. Every once in a blue moon, I might get some. My mum might send some over. Or like sometimes with some friends, we'll do some trading and all that kind of stuff. I'll send some American stuff, they'll send some British stuff. But yeah, it's obviously usually US chocolate. And of course these days, apart from last week or this week, I'm starting to watch what I eat, so I'm having less and less. But now you've said that, Dylan, I'm starving. Question number 2, what are your top 10 arcade games? Now, I'm sorry, Dylan, I didn't do any research on this, so we're just going to go with 10 arcade games off the top of my head, and I presume you mean arcade cabinets, not conversions for the home computer. So let's go with, many of these I would have mentioned before, but if we're going to go with 10, in no particular order, no chronological order, no orders of preference, we're going to start with Ridge Racer. Absolutely loved it. Great memories. I was at college at the time, and we'd go down to the pier on the arcade, at the arcades, and we'd sit on the Ridge Racer car. It was like half a car, I think. Was it a full car? I can't quite remember. But we'd sit in that, and it would move left to right, obviously. And Ridge Racer is just an amazing game. I think it was £1 a go. It didn't stop us, even though we were poor students. But absolutely loved it. It's a great game. I was playing it recently on the PS1. It's still amazing. I still love it. Next up, I tell you what, just seeing as it's the same era, and we played this when I was at college as well, Daytona. I remember specifically, there was like a 4, 5, 6 kind of arcade cab. They were all connected, so you'd all sit down, and we frequently did, and we'd race against each other. And yeah, Daytona USA was absolutely brilliant. Really liked it. The Saturn conversion, Sega Saturn conversion wasn't great, but I think they addressed that with the second one that came along. Not Daytona 2, but it was like something like the Circuit Edition, something like that, and that was slightly better than the original port, the first game that came out on Sega Saturn. So yeah, I really like Daytona, and I've also got a really good memory, kind of an embarrassing one, I may have mentioned this before, of going to Tower Park, which is in Poole next to Bournemouth, and back in the Mega Bowl, I don't know if it's still there, the bowling kind of complex, they had an adjoining arcade, quite a mini one, there wasn't that too many there, but they had a number of things. They had the virtual reality unit there, Operation Thunderbolt, I remember Terminator being there, a lot of old stuff, and they also had Daytona. And I remember going on Daytona, turning up with two of my mates, three of my mates. There was Jamie, there was Paul, there was Danny, that'll mean nothing to you, and I went along, and they were all dressed up, you know, looking to impress, looking for girls and all that kind of stuff. We all were, we were that age, would have been about 16, 17, and I turned up. So, oh God, why did I do this in hindsight? So they're all dressed up quite smartly, got their jeans on, got their shoes on, got their shirts, you know, or maybe like a t-shirt. It looked presentable. And I turned up in all that as well, but I turned up with my top, the Liverpool goalkeeping shirt with Grobbelaar 24, or whatever it was on the back. It was absolutely ridiculous. I just was out of touch with reality. I don't know why I wore that. How was I going to attract anybody wearing that? But the funny thing about that night is, well, not funny, but in context, is that I played on Daytona that night. I specifically remember with that Liverpool shirt on. And why Liverpool? I'm just not a Liverpool fan. I guess I just liked football shirts back then. And, oh no, I'll tell you actually, it's a pointless story, but just to be matter of fact, I had a goalkeeping shirt which someone had got me as a present by Adidas, and it didn't fit, it was too small. So, because the person who got it for me didn't send a receipt, I wrote off to Adidas, bit sneaky, this is all pre-email, I wrote off to Adidas and I think I just sent it to them. And I just said, oh, I really like it, but it doesn't fit. And then they sent me like a couple back, a couple of goalkeeping shirts, and one of them was the Grobbelaar with the Premier League patches and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, how embarrassing. 16 or 17, going out on the pull, wearing a Liverpool goalkeeping shirt with Grobbelaar 24 on the back. Jesus. But I remember specifically playing Daytona that night where I was wearing it. So, a good memory, but an embarrassing one at the same time. So yeah, Ridge Racer, Daytona. Let's go with Turtles, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, or Ninja Turtles, depending on where you are. The side-scrolling fighter. Great memories of that. Completed it with some friends. And again, you won't care, but for the sake of being matter of fact, Danny, that same Danny that I mentioned a minute ago, Rob and Sam. Four of us on the four-player cab, finishing the game. Brilliant memories. I'll also go with WrestleFest from that same time. It's another one I've mentioned in the past, in the recent past. A great game from that same place in Tower Park. We'd occasionally go on that. We were kind of into wrestling back then as well. You know, it was the early 90s, so that was a big deal. Premier Soccer by Konami, an overhead football game. Absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. I'd go for that one. Another one from my college days. So that's 5. I think you've got to go with Space Invaders. Really like Space Invaders. The classic one, you know, where you've obviously got the enemies at the top and they're going down but moving left to right. And then you're at the bottom with those kind of 4 or 5 or whatever it is, kind of shield barriers. And they get gradually kind of eroded away when you or the aliens shoot into it until there's like no protection there. So that's a classic. I remember that was probably the first arcade game I ever played back in like the mid-80s. And I loved it. It was just absolutely brilliant. For number 7, let's go with Killer Instinct. I remember seeing Killer Instinct, again, college days. So it would have been back in like the mid to late 95, about 95 time. And it was just brilliant. But it was another one that it was £1 per go. And it was really hard. It didn't stop us, you know, putting the money in there. But it was, yeah, maybe too expensive, but a really good game. And then when the N64 version came out, I really liked that. So is that 6 or 7? I think that's 7. So 3 more. How about... oh my God, what else did I play back in the day? See, I should have done research on this one. How about something like Street Fighter 2? The classic, I guess. Yeah, we used to really, really like that. And of course, when it came out on the Super Nintendo, it was the greatest game ever back then. It still holds up well, and it'll forever be a game which is really important to me. But yeah, it was very good on the arcades. And then 2 more. Let's go with, this is a bit of a cop-out because I remember it from that same time of playing Turtles and WrestleFest, and it's got to be the Simpsons arcade game. Again, similar to the Turtles one, in the sense that it was kind of side-scrolling, a bit of a beat-em-up. in a way, but that was fun. Simpsons was massive at the time, although I don't think ever seen a full episode of The Simpsons. I know what it is, obviously. I've seen the odd episode here and there, or bits of it, I should say, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched an entire episode, despite it being like 30 years old. Crazy. And then one more, and I'm struggling, one more arcade game that I used to like. Let's go with something like, oh my god, how about something like, I mentioned it earlier on, the virtual reality sets? Because, that, again, it was another one, I think it was like £1 ago, very expensive. But I do remember them from seeing them back at Tower Park in the arcade complex, the Mega Bowl, and you'd sit in that big kind of chair, much like this kind of leather chair, and you'd put that headset on, and you were in another world, in a completely other universe, and it was very simplistic and basic. There wasn't a lot going on in terms of backgrounds and things happening, but it was just, it was amazing just to kind of move your head around and look around the place. It just blew my mind, and this was back in like the early 90s. It was just an amazing experience. And here we are all these years later, and it's still not that great. I've not tried the PlayStation 4 VR, or whatever it's called. I know there's a few people who are really, really into it. I know Ben Shenmuso likes that, and he's very much an advocate of it, but I've just not tried it. The biggest reason I've not tried it, I'll be honest, is I'm scared of playing Resident Evil and all that kind of stuff in VR. And you're probably thinking, well, just get VR, but just don't get that game. But the way I am, if I've got VR, I'm going to want to get the game. It's just like, I can't resist it. I want to scare myself, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. So we'll go with that. But if I sat down and thought about it, Dylan, and my list could have been a bit better than that. Sorry, mate, but it's still a decent list of games and arcade cabs. They all mean something to me, so that's that. Next question. Are you an Adidas or a Nike kind of guy? Ultimately, overall, Adidas, but back in the day of the late 80s and early 90s, it would have been Nike, or Nike, as some people incorrectly say. I think technically it is Nike, isn't it? But Nike for me. Old habits and all that. So, yeah, back in like the late 80s and early 90s, you had your Nike Airs, the Nike Air Jordans. I think I mentioned it in a previous vid. And, yeah, they were massive with my friends, me and my friends. We loved them. They're really expensive, though. But I had a couple of pairs. But ultimately, overall for a brand, and now as an adult, even though I don't buy too many trainers, I get a pair every now and again. I do have a couple of pairs of Adidas. I'd have to say, as an adult, I'm more of an Adidas guy. And overall, even back then, I did like Adidas. It was just that brief moment in time where Nike was really cool. So, yeah, Adidas for me. But I do like Nike as well. Question number 4. Is it question 4? 1, 2, 3? Yeah, 4, I think. Is there anything you'd like to see at this year's E3? Or are there any games you're looking forward to getting in the future? To be honest, Dylan, I'm not massively into E3. If it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't even know it's taking place. I'm not someone who's massively keen or interested in the industry. I never have been. Although, obviously, with people talking about it on YouTube and on Twitter and other forms of social media, I've watched a bit over the years. So, and I catch the odd video here and there. But it's not something I go out of my way to watch. Not really, unless someone is talking about it, and then I'll look for it. So I'm not really sure what's coming out. I think I did hear that there's no announcements of upcoming consoles, like no PS5 or Xbox One, 2, or whatever that's going to be called. So that would have been interesting, so I guess they'll save that maybe for next year. There is one, isn't there, that they did show, I think, last year's E3. I think it was last year. I can't remember what you call it. It's a zombie game. It's yet another one of those zombie apocalyptic games, which is really common and has been for a number of years now. It's Days something, Days End, maybe? I might be making that up. It's, I think, a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it does look good, if you like that kind of thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I don't know when that's coming out. Battlefield 5, I'm kind of looking forward to that one, as I mentioned earlier on. Although it's probably just going to be quite generic first-person shooter, campaign and multiplayer stuff. Yeah, I don't know, Dylan. I'm not sure what's coming out. There's that other one which just came out the other day, that Detroit something. All these names are going out of my head. That looks quite good. There'll be a picture on the screen. So I'll be getting that. But in terms of what's coming out, I don't know. I'll have to watch the videos, mate, to be honest. I'll have to look on Twitter, see what people are talking about. I've just not got a clue. When it comes to the industry, it's never really been something I've been interested in. I've literally just been a gamer, and when it comes out, I'll buy it if it looks good. If not, then I guess I won't. But in terms of things that are happening and moving along in the industry, new consoles coming out, gossip, you know, I'm not really that interested. Not really. And then last but not least from Dylan, we've got, do you like indie games? Are there any you really enjoyed? Yes, I really enjoy indie games. A big fan of them. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I do like them. I think for the most part, they're very well priced. They look good. I know I said before Horizon Chase Turbo was a bit expensive at $20, and there's some that are even more expensive than that. I'll mention one in a second. But overall, I think the quality is really, really good. And if you wait for a sale, because invariably, eventually, inevitably, they will be on sale, then you can grab an absolute bargain. I think a lot of people unfairly look at indie games as being rubbish because they've not got millions and millions of dollars to polish their games. People think they're a bit cheap. They're a bit like budget games. If you can see them down there, there's a few that you probably won't be able to work them out. A few on the Amiga and ST. People think that maybe they're a bit poor, the standard. That's not the case. A lot of them might look a little bit ropey, or not ropey, but a little bit bland, but they're really deep. Some of them are really, really good. Don't let the indie tag put you off. There's many which are really, really good. I've wrote just a few down here. Oxenfree. I've only just started it. It was like $2 on a sale. $2? Like kind of a point-and-click adventure game. By all accounts, it doesn't last very long, but the reviews are really good and the experience is meant to be fantastic. Games I have played. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Man alive, it's a great game. Just check it out. Seriously, look at the graphics. They'll blow you away for a start. So that in itself kind of blows away that theory of games from indie developers not looking good. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Brilliant. Especially if you're in the UK, it focuses on like a British village with the countryside and all that kind of stuff. It's an amazing game. You'd be honestly foolish for missing out. Maybe wait for a sale. Like I say, they all will be on sale eventually. But yeah, a brilliant experience. It really is. Firewatch, another one. I bought Firewatch on the Xbox One about 2 years ago, and about 2 or 3 months ago I bought it on the PlayStation 4 as well. I hadn't finished it on the Xbox One, and it was on sale, again, on the PlayStation 4 for like $4. It might still be on sale, depending on when you're watching this vid. It's a bargain. It's a really good experience. It's deep, it's meaningful, it tells a story, it's quite emotional. That's, a lot of these games are these indie games. They get you thinking, and I really like them. So Firewatch is an essential purchase for me. The Witness. The Witness is one which I think, now to be fair, this took the piss. It was $40, might still be, as a digital download, a very kind of atmospheric, puzzle-based, deep thinking kind of game. $40 for me when I saw it was like, forget it. No way, I'm not going to do that. I did see it on sale recently. It may have been as cheap as $10. If it's still $10, I may take a look on PlayStation Network after I've done this vid. I may get it for 10, maybe 15, 20 at an absolute stretch, 40, jog on, not happening. The reviews weren't that great, they were kind of alright. But yeah, so The Witness is another one that kind of looks very interesting. If you're not into your puzzles, it's not really for you. And of course, the games I mentioned before, Horizon Chase Turbo and Raging Justice, these are indie games. And they look good, they play good. Yeah, give them a chance. Try not to be one of those people, I know it's hard because I used to be, but try not to be one of those people, sounds patronising and condescending, but try not to be one of those people who really looks at indie games and just presumes that they're rubbish because they're cheap. They're not necessarily. There's some really good experiences out there, and you're genuinely missing out. And finally, as Trevor McDonald would say, have you ever faced a situation when you shoot a good video, spend tons of your time editing, put your heart into it, but your masterpiece does not gain any views? And that's from a username whose username is quite literally unpronounceable. I'm not even going to attempt. Unless you're Russian, and then I guess it is very much pronounceable. But I couldn't even begin to that. It's out of this world, that. So the funny thing about this, as you'll see, because I've took a screenshot of it and it's on the screen now, you'll see that I initially thought that it was a legitimate question from a valid YouTuber, but turns out it isn't. It's just a spam question, because he goes on basically and he's just selling his website or whatever it is. But initially when I got that, I thought, oh nice, another question from someone new. Wasn't. But I'm putting it up there because it's quite funny, but also because it is relevant and it ties back to the start of the video where I talked about my music channel and how I've been basically wasting my time, not so much wasting my time uploading vids on there per se, but by not uploading them dually on this channel as well, which is what I should have done all along, quite frankly, as the views and interaction and likes have proven to be the case. So thank you for doing that, everyone. You really stepped up to the plate. And I guess it showed me that maybe people do like variation. Maybe you, and not everyone of course, we all like different things, and that's fine, but maybe a lot of people who subscribe to my channel do like variation, and you don't mind watching the odd video that I do here and there which may not be gaming related. And let's face it, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years I've become quite eclectic, and that going forward is probably going to change even more. It's going to get more eclectic as time goes on, and I'm fine with that, and hopefully you are as well. So, but yeah, like I say, it ties back really nicely because do I put, I mean, in terms of that bit there, spend tons of time editing your vid. I don't edit the vid at all. Well, I'll put a few pictures on the screen as you'll see, but that's, you just drag them into iMovie. The music over the top of it, just get an MP3, drag it into iMovie. It's really simple stuff. It doesn't take a long time. Put your heart into it, well, not really. But your masterpiece, well, of course, they're all masterpieces, every single one of them. But the end bit is the crucial bit, but does not get any views. Like I say, yeah, the music channel's struggling for views right now, and that's an understatement, and subscribers and all the rest of it. And see, it does feel like a bit of a slap in the face. Yeah, you know, when you put that time and effort into your vids, even if it's minimal effort, it's certainly time that you're putting in, and then to get like 48 views after a month and a bit, that very same video within 72 hours has got 2-3 times as many views on this channel. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, I just thought I'd put that in at the end there of the vid because that was pretty funny. Anyway, until my next vid, oh, thank you to all my new subscribers on this channel, by the way. Bloody nightmare getting them on the other one, but on this one, thank you very much. It means a lot. I never will be a massive channel. I always see myself as someone who just is basically talking to you personally, you know, in your room, in the living room, down the pub. That's just how I try to come across that way. Just very casual, very rough around the edges, minimal editing, although there's the odd jump cut here and there. But I only do that to shorten the vid, because otherwise, I mean, this one's gone on for ages. Otherwise, they'd go on for 3 hours, and you'd be bloody asleep by the end of it. It'd be pointless. So, yeah, thank you to everyone who has subscribed in the past, who does subscribe in the future, and just who watches. Even if you don't comment, I don't mind. I understand that, you know, we live in an era now where it's difficult to comment. If you're watching this on a television, you're not going to comment, or probably not on a remote control. If you're watching it on an iPod or a phone, a smartphone, Pete, it's hard to comment. We live in a society, an era, a time where everything's very fast-paced. You watch a video, you like it, hopefully, and you move on to the next one, and that's fine. As long as people are watching and the views are healthy, which they always are, then that, for me, that's all I can ask for. So until my next vid, whenever that will be, it's probably got to be next week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.